I'd like to welcome you all to the 10th season of In the Bleachers with Dave McCray. I'm here joined by my co-hosts, Coach Bob Wallace and Rich Flerra, who also moonlights at ESPN New Hampshire, handles all the high school sports there.
I would say moonlight's here, but hey,
Yeah.
Dave, 10th season,
way.
you go
Either
for
way.
it, man. That's right.
Tomato, tomato. Well, guys, we're back at it again. Hard to believe it's 10 years. He was still in the third grade when me and you started this back up. FCC has shut us down a couple of times. The town of Merrimack has shut us down a couple of times. But we're still here. Malzone was banned.
Ray Lewis's mom last year tried to shut me down.
Ray Lewis's mom.
Forgot about that.
I still have nightmares about it.
Yeah.
Guys, this is how we're going to start it off. We're going to give you guys each a minute to talk whatever you want to talk about Hernandez and Tebow. You got 1 minute, you got 1 minute, and I got. And then I don't want to hear either of their names the rest of the season.
Wow. That's a good way to do it, Dave.
Okay? Rich, you're up.
Well, I mean, the Hernandez thing, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, can't really say anything else that hasn't been said. It's been spoken ad nauseum about whether the Rolling Stone issue was factual or not. There's some gray areas that didn't really line up, like whether it's like people want him to show the plane ticket, this and that, the proof of him being out in Indianapolis and stuff like that. And even Ron Borges has started already kind of backtracking some of the stuff that he leaked out to Rolling Stone. So you wonder how factual that article really was.
So this might have come down to a Borges versus the Kraft.
Something like that, and there's
thing.
been a known rift between those two individuals before. So look, I mean, like I said, there's really not much you can add that hasn't been added. The guy's a bad dude, saying the least. I mean, he is what it is. As far as Tebow goes, I will speak his name again, but I'm not going to rule out a return. I'm surprised I didn't bring him back on the practice squad. I can think of a lot worse third-string quarterbacks to have on your roster. As far as people saying it was a waste of time, maybe not. Look, I mean, if Malik gets hurt, there's a guy who knows the system, he can slide in or something. You never know. There's always freak accidents. So, I mean, we'll see. I wasn't upset about the Tebow thing.
Do you think that's more because they wanted to give him a chance to light on with someone else versus pull him on the practice squad and actually limit him from hooking on with anybody? I mean, what you
Yeah, they probably wanted to see if he could, and the fact that he couldn't. I also think there was a major McDaniels factor, and he wanted to see what he could salvage. It was his first-round pick in Denver, so he's probably still wanting to prove to everybody what he saw in him and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think it's maybe the last that we saw of him.
Wow.
Okay, and I'll just kick in real quickly. I think you put it best. Hernandez is one bad dude. And I was hearing they found that they're talking about the two other guys that got killed in Boston. They supposedly found the car in Hernandez's uncle's garage. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And as far as Tebow, I thought it was interesting. I thought I personally was rooting for the guy. I don't think he's ready to be an NFL quarterback. He may be someday. I don't see him being a practice squad guy, and I don't think that's what he would want to be. I think they want a guy that can move right in. Don't forget, if you put Tebow in, you're not putting him in Brady's shoes. So I thought it was interesting. I wouldn't have minded he stayed on. Same as Doug Flutie, right? You know, remember when we had Flutie for a year?
Do you think he's a CFL quarterback, Dave? Do you think that's his next progression?
No, I don't. But I think you got to be a better thrower to be in the CFL than the NFL.
No, true, like
Really,
Warren
people,
Moon,
yeah.
These are the people that
Yeah, people tend to think that that's the minor league. What I think the CFL allows you to be is shorter. Okay, I mean, that's what I think. I think when you're smaller, you can play in the CFL.
Yep.
But, that wasn't his problem. He's 6'4". But no, I don't see it at all. He'll end up, I personally think he may end up being a football player again in another year. I think, teams were saying, hey, are you willing to try another role? And he'd say no. And I think now he's going to sit down. He's going to talk to Urban Meyer. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him in camp next year somewhere trying out for a different position. My thoughts.
The only other thing I want to add real quickly, like 30 seconds on, I wish not as many people tried messing with him as much as they did, because now he thinks probably way too much when he's out there. He's messed with his mechanics. He's had 800 different people tell him, you got to do this. If they just let him play, right out of college. I would like to have seen the product that would have been on there, because now everyone runs the read option. That's what he did so successful down at Florida. That's exactly what people say you couldn't do in the NFL. Well, now a lot of teams are doing that. So I really wish we could have seen what he would have done if he just started right away versus having 800 different people saying, no, you got to do this, this, and this. Now he just thinks too much. It's a Daniel Bard head case.
Okay, let's move.
Wildcat City.
We need to move on, gentlemen.
Oh, I guess I don't get a minute.
Oh, I thought you took yours.
No,
I was
no.
asking questions of you two intelligent gentlemen.
Then go.
Do I have my minute?
You have your minutes, sir.
So it's, let's see. So
I mean,
let's
no
spend.
offense, he took 2 minutes.
I understand.
I know.
Well, you took a minute and a half. Anyway, I'll be real quick. It's easy, though. No Tebow time because we've already spent way too much time with that guy. See you later. How about Hernandez, though? Let's bring it back to us, all right? Let's bring it back a little local spin. Last year at this time, we were down camp. We get a chance to, through some diligence on this man's part
Big time
here,
diligence.
and in the good graces of the Patriots organization.
He got
and
press
Stacey
credentials.
James, we get to go down and cover a really great day in camp down there, and we get to interview Aaron Hernandez. Now, little did we know, 2 weeks prior to us having that interview, quite frankly, he might have been killing people. Literally. And I was looking at some old footage, and it's chilling to hear one of the questions. I think we were talking about that on your radio show last week. Unbelievable, because they were talking about Gronk, and I believe everyone was saying, hey, it's all about Gronk. How was your summer? And how did he answer that?
They asked him about the summer at Gronk, and he's like, don't worry,
so
I had my own fun this summer, with like a grin on his face.
With a grin, which now when you look back is, you talk about bad, I'd say evil, man.
I told you, I
should
should tell him he should be selling that footage to TMZ.
And the other thing, remember his touchdown
maybe
dance?
Maybe this will light off a viral explosion of that.
His touchdown dance, he dug a
digging
grave, supposedly. It was probably a grave.
And
then see you later,
rounds,
buddy.
See you later.
Yeah, digging a grave and then see you later.
Wow.
So who knows what all that was about.
Yikes. So anyway, this is my minute, and I didn't spend 1 second on Tebow. That'll be it. No more.
Okay, let's move forward, gentlemen.
Thank you, David.
And I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to. I'll be pushing you guys because we're down to 19 minutes.
We're on 10 years of being on our bicycle.
Let's get on our bicycle.
All right.
Guys, let's talk real quick on who you see as being the number 1 and number 2 receivers. We don't have time to talk about them all. Okay.
Well, the guy, coach can vouch for this on my radio show on Saturday morning before training camp even started. I've been high on Kenbrell Tompkins. Now everyone's seeing what I've already known about the young man. He was great in college. He had some troubles, this and that. He ended up going from Tennessee to Cincinnati, went undrafted, and he's turning heads. He's really good. I think Josh Boyce could turn out to be the second best rookie ahead of Dobson before all is said and done. He's a big playmaker. I think Amendola is going to be Amendola, 80 to 100 catches. You won't see much of a drop-off from Welker. Not saying he's better than Welker, you just won't see much of a drop-off as far as production goes. And then I think you'll see Sudfeld fill in admirably for the Gravedigger.
Yeah, Ballard was let go, I guess, pretty unceremoniously.
Yes.
I mean, pretty early in the campaign. So, did he catch with anybody? I was trying to look at the
No,
waiver
I
wire
haven't
before we
seen
started
anyone.
filming.
He did not.
Fells or
He's
no
still
one.
out there. I think a guy named Jermaine Cunningham is still.
But the bottom line is Ballard's
available.
not healed. I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah,
getting
he
at.
looked like a shell of himself.
Yeah, he's
Is that
not
what it
healed.
was? Yeah, I mean, he didn't make it a full pad, so he was cleared, but it looked like he hadn't.
Yeah, no, that's why they talked to not Belichick, but one of the other position coaches, and they just said, Jake needs to come back, and he needs to be completely healthy, and he wasn't.
Well, come back. Oh, and he wasn't okay, and then therefore.
Right, I mean, come back
we
somewhere
got no
else.
strings on him now, right?
No, we got nothing. All right, okay, Coach, you're up.
Receivers, who you got?
Receivers.
Oh, I agree totally with him.
Okay.
I mean, the one thing I got to give you credit for though is calling out Tompkins.
I've been on it for a while.
Early. We went down and what was that first camp?
Yeah, first day
we
of
were
camp.
looking
Yeah.
at that, and he says, "You watch this kid," and he is. I would say he's going to be the number 1 receiver.
He could be.
Over Amendola. I mean, there's a comfort level already established with him and Brady that I already dig that.
Looks
man.
good.
Okay, I think Amendola is not going to see the 4th game. I don't believe he's got the
He's
toughness.
a little brittle.
I think he's a lot brittle.
He's a little
And don't
ballsy.
forget, going across the middle, I mean, that was Welker's game. And I don't
Tough
see it.
kid.
I hope I'm wrong. That's my thoughts. Okay. Ty, let's talk a little bit about the Gronkster. Okay. He didn't get on the PUP list. When do you think we see him? What week?
I'm going to say week 4. I don't think we're going to need him in the first 2 weeks against Buffalo and New York. I mean, we'll probably get to that later. We should be able to beat those teams rather handily without him. Tampa Bay at home, we showed during the preseason that Brady can shred those guys. He's familiar with them, having practiced with them all week at practice. I know Revis wasn't practicing back then. He will make a difference. But I don't think you're going to see him until week 4, and then that's when you play Atlanta at Cincinnati, then home against New Orleans, a tough stretch. I think they'll hold them out.
What kind of year do you see the Gronk having?
I don't think he's going to skip a beat when he comes back. I think he'll be fine. He's one of the best. The thing that people don't talk about, he's one of the best blocking tight ends in football. You'll see the run game, which will be very strong, be even stronger when he comes back, and then he'll do what he does. I mean, he's 6'7", 250 pounds. He's a beast. He's a red zone nightmare.
Well, the question people out there are asking, though, is he damaged goods? I mean,
we'll see. But with surgeries and technologies and doctors, I'm not going to. You see Adrian Peterson come back from ACL injury
we can all see
4 months later and lead the NFL in rushing.
What do you think?
Yeah, well,
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the tendency that he's already shown is that he's going to be putting a lot of pressure on that, the broken bone right away, because that was the case as soon as they let him back last time, and I think they let him back a little too early. I agree with your reasoning. I say maybe week 3 though. I think that Tampa Bay game when we see him home, open up at home with him, and it's going to be hard. He's already in full pads, so I know he's getting animated, and it'll be hard to keep him on the sidelines knowing you get that much talent there. You, Dave, what do you think?
I think I agree. No, I agree with you. The third week.
Third week, yeah.
I don't take Tampa for granted.
No.
I think if you can put him out there, you do it. And I also agree. I think he's going to have a good year. I really think that he's going to come back and get rid of any naysayers questioning his toughness. So I look forward to it. I really look forward to it. Okay, gentlemen, offensive line.
Offensive line, I said it last year. I'll say it again. I think that's one of the strong points of this team. This time last year, everyone was saying it was a big question mark on the team because that's when Matt Light was retired, Solder was filling in. A lot of question marks. People didn't know how Vollmer was going to come back from injury.
Copen was gone.
Copen was gone. So there's a lot of question marks. But there was one guy who's been there, who's always been there, and it's Dante Scarnecchia. He's the best line coach in all of football, and he knows how to find guys to plug in. The Conley, I think Solder and Vollmer is the best tackle combination in football. Mankins is already one of the best guards, and then Conley's right up there. And then we know what Gronk can do as a blocking tight end. I think our offensive line is very stout.
Okay, Coach.
Ditto that. How can you argue with that much logic, right? The one thing I'll add, maybe a little enhancement of what my esteemed colleague has brought to the table. We used to kid. You talk about being on for 10 years, right? For 9 of those 10 years, every time Dante Scarnecchia, every time Dante's name comes up, we always, this guy's got to have pitches on somebody. He just seems to be able to stay. But now I realize he's just an unbelievably outstanding, high integrity, high impact, great coach, and he's shown a desire to stay in the New England area. Stadiums have changed underneath his watch. Coaches have changed underneath, and he just stays.
And he did 3 games as a head coach.
That's right. He stepped in the Rod Rust at the end of Rod Rust.
McPherson.
McPherson
had his diverticulitis or whatever.
Yeah, and did a fine job. And look at all the offensive stalwarts we've had. And clearly they all look back at him. I know Hannah talked about him in his acceptance speech.
It's the one constant that we've had over the years, and it's no shock that the offensive line's been a constant as well.
Yeah, so I guess I'm sorry, Dante, for all that crap I've been giving. You're a pretty good guy.
Okay, running backs. Who's gonna be our go-to guy? Now I know we do it by committee in New England, but who do you see getting the bulk of the carries?
Well, the same guys last year. Ridley ran for 1,200 yards. He had over 10 touchdowns. I think you can expect the same production from him. Shane Vereen will slide into Danny Woodhead's role, which I was craving for last year. I think, quite frankly, Danny Woodhead is a poor man's Shane Vereen. Shane Vereen's got the same skill set, just better tools in the toolbox with speed and things of that nature. I think Vereen, you're going to see a lot of stuff from him this year. You can line him up in the slot, kind of like Andy Reid utilized Brian Westbrook a little bit as a receiver, a lot of those things. Yep. I like the fact they kept Bolden and Blount insurance policy in case Ridley gets hurt. I think those are 2 bruising backs. I'm not mad that they cut Leon Washington. I thought he's expendable because I think there's guys that can do the return game.
He was one big play, I think, in the preseason away from making that team. I just never saw anything that really had you say he still has it. Did I miss any of this?
No, you didn't.
I think that there's other guys that can fill in for the kickoff role, and I think that they figured what Bolden brought to the running game was better than what he brought, and as a 4th running back, they probably were more comfortable having Bolden in than Washington.
Does Boyce return kickoffs? I'm sorry.
He can.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he can.
'Cause
The
that's
guy
a
I want is Shane
fast
Vereen
kid,
back
man.
there. He
Yeah.
did it at Cal. He was phenomenal at
Right.
Cal. He's got the speed. I just don't know if they're weary of his concussion problems
Seen
that
the
he had
end
at
around
Cal.
with Boyce the other. I mean, just the speed that kid has. He's
Oh,
got
is Boyce, is he a rookie?
Yeah, he's the other receiver.
He's the one. The reason they said they got rid of Washington.
because of the speed.
Right.
All right,
I
well,
didn't
that's-
remember
that
which
would make
rookie it
sense.
was, to be truthful, but they
He's-
said they saw him and they decided Washington was
Yeah.
expendable because they think he can step up.
Well, that's why I think Boyce might have a bigger impact than Dobson just because of his speed and what he can do with the long ball.
Right. Yeah, let's not count on Dobson yet.
No, but I mean,
I
look-
got big hopes for that kid. My little Randy Moss.
oh no, he'll make some catches.
Coach, I'm going to move on to the next question, and I'm going to start with you because I know you didn't get your full allotment of time there. But let's talk a little bit about Tom Brady, quarterback. What do we see from him this year, and what do we see from him in the next few years?
I'll stay focused on this year because I don't want to go too deep and we don't have enough time. But this year I see a man just focused, a guy that's ready to take that fourth ring and put it on his hand. And I think he's seen the ups, the downs. I mean, watching Welker go for $1 million, basically what it came down to, right, or less than that, and having just taken a pay cut. I mean, you just have to marvel at the integrity of this kid, you know. And I don't know, I guess to sum it up with my birthday gift this year from my mom was last year she gave me a book. It was called Why Tom Brady is the Greatest Quarterback of All Time. I think you referenced it. This year I've got a beautiful gray shirt, came from the Patriots Pro Shop, and it just says Tom effing Brady.
Perfect.
For my mom. So I mean,
Enough said.
Enough said.
Enough
So,
said. I hope to see that gracing our set.
we will certainly see that on the ITB set. Certainly.
Okay. And my friend here, Mr. Flerra.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I think everyone's going to find out why Tom Brady is one of the best ever this year with all the moving pieces that happen in the offseason. We talked about the constant with the offensive line. He doesn't get any better than Tom Brady as far as the constant goes. He's going to prove once again why he's an MVP. And I don't think the Patriots are going to skip too much of a beat. I think they'll be fine. They'll rely a little bit more on the run game than they have. I think they'll utilize, like I said, Shane Vereen and stuff. But I think Tom Brady will be right where he was, and it speaks admirably to him, like you said, that he hasn't made one peep about why didn't they keep this guy or that guy. He never, ever says anything. And I've been griping about it for a long time that they don't allocate enough resources to utilize his last couple of years. I mean, use everything you have to make sure you squeeze everything out in his last couple of years, and they don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to skip over to the defense now, and I'm going to talk to our old stalwart.
51.
51.
Gerard Mayo.
Coach, tell me what we see out of that. Are we finally in the post-Seymour era going to get some real pressure now? And I know we got some from Chandler Jones last year, but he kind of petered out. No offense to him.
Yep.
What do we see this year?
Yeah, and we've always said this, Dave. Is that pressure up the middle that can either make or break the whole defensive scheme. And if you're able to take double coverage, which is what Will Falk makes a career out of, and pull that away from your two tackles, obviously that gives you some leverage, especially when you get tackles that can tee it up. Now that we do, but you put Kelly next to Vince, or even this kid Joe Villano. I'm curious to hear what you think about this kid, but. From everything I saw, they gave him the full game. Detroit, they sat Vince down, gave the kid all the starts. He did make the cut, right? I mean, Villano's in. So, I mean, I think you've got your rotation. You've got those two stars. I mean, Kelly and Wilfork in the middle. That's just crazy, you know? I'm obviously.
So, do you like what you saw out of Kelly from the preseason?
Absolutely.
So, you don't think he's lost a step?
No, I actually think he's got a little bit bee in his bonnet, and that's going to work out real well for us, I think, Dave.
Yeah, I think Kelly could be one of the better defensive tackles that's ever played alongside Will Fork. I think his production up the middle, I know last year was a down year, but the 2 years prior, he had over 7 sacks from the defensive tackle position, and that's huge. And he's going to see single coverage more than he's ever seen before because people are going to be so focused on Will Fork, and you'll see a demonstrative figure in Kelly up front. I like you guys said it, Jones hit the rookie wall. He battled some ankle injuries. I think he sustains that all season long. I think Hightower takes a nice step forward. The kid that I'm really anxious to see if he has any kind of impact on the team is Beckett. Jake Beckett, he was a defensive guy that we signed last year. They kept him. They cut Francis Cunningham and a lot of other people. So we'll see. I mean, he had production down in the SEC, which everyone calls the junior pro. So I'm anxious to see if Beckett can provide anything.
But once again, the team leaning towards the youth that they drafted versus the, I wouldn't say veteran, but I mean, Francis had established himself as guy that was making big plays at the end of last year.
I think he was battling injuries too, and they just
Yeah.
kind of went with a healthy body, maybe.
Gotcha.
Well, guys, next week we're going to get a little more involved and touch base on the linebackers a little more in depth and the defensive backs.
You
But
know,
one
I
of the
feel
complaints I got last year was that we were always too rushed during Fab Four. You know, it was the end of the show, and at the end we're just saying yes, no, yes. So this year I'd like to give it a little more time so we can really delve into it a little. So, Coach, with that being said, the Fab Four, and you're up.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Fab Four first week. Welcome back to the NFL. I won't say wagering. I guess that would be wrong to say, but just the whole NFL. I mean, everyone's got office pools and things that they're into. This year, we've decided we made a group decision. This is a democracy, not a republic, as some people would call America these days.
Or a dictatorship.
Or a dictatorship,
which is
or
what I would like, but you two, I'll vote me.
Boom. So, we've chosen 4 games, and this year we're going to use the spread so we can help the viewers. Maybe they've got a little pool they're in or a little office pick-em thing, and they have to pick against the spread. So we're going to pick against the spread. So I've selected 4 key games that are coming up this week, week 1. And
I do want to just say one thing to remind people in case they're wondering. Coach is the guy 4 years ago that went 17 straight weeks winning, picking against the spread. So we do have a guy, if he regains his form from 4 years ago, every week he can almost guarantee a pick. But I don't know if anyone's ever had the success you had that year, Coach.
the word guarantee is never used. Lock is the word that we
Well,
use.
you were using lock that
When
year,
I
and you
say
were nailing
lock,
them.
if you go the other way, you're bound to win. That's it. Pretty
Lock
much.
it up.
Lock it up, go the other way.
I mean, you went undefeated 11 consecutive weeks at one point.
At
that
one
year.
point, but that's a very long time ago. So anyway, part of the Fab Four is generally one of the Patriots games, unless it's a bye week. So I'm going to start with some artwork, and I'm going to see if Justin, our new man in the,
Coach, you're a
in the
modest
booth,
guy.
can bring in.
You're a very modest guy.
Very modest.
If it was me that did that, I'd still be talking about it.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Oh,
well,
gosh. In fact, I tell people it was me.
I thought that's the buzz on the chat room the other day. So anyway, this is my brother Scott is an artist and just a great fan of the
Phenomenal one
Patriots.
at that.
Phenomenal artist, and he's created a little. It's basically every week we'll have the journey of Pat Patriot or Pat Riot, as he calls him, as part of his comic strip that he has on PatsFanInsider.com. So anyway, this is how Pat's going to handle the Buffalo Bills, and I feel very strongly about that's going to be the case. So I'm going to open up the Fab Four this year with the New England Patriots at Buffalo. Buffalo being a home underdog, getting 9.5 points, and I'm going to go out on the record and call that my lock of the week. New England, take it to the bank. Dave.
Well, part of me wants to say the Bills. But that part was the part that was committed to a mental asylum
Which part
years
was
ago.
Oh, the part they cut out? No, that was
that's a different
lobotomy.
story. Yeah,
Frontal and bottom.
that was 14 years ago.
Got it.
The bottom line is, I really think that's a lot of points to give the Bills. I do. They're at home, right? Bills are at home.
Correct.
Yep.
With that being said, in Bill we trust,
Yep.
and in Tom we trust. They can do it. I really don't think it'll be much more than 10 points. I really don't.
We're close to the number, but you're going to right
Oh,
now.
well,
it's
I'm
still
taking the
9.5.
Pats. I
I'm
can't go
thinking-
against them.
I'm thinking come game time, the local line might be somewhere around 11.5, 12. You heard it here first, but I still like them at that, by the way. Okay, so that's 2 New England.
I
Rich?
concur. Can't really go
All
against them.
right, so anytime
You
the
gotta-
3 of us go the same way, that's another lock.
You got a banged up rookie quarterback.
away.
You got their best cornerback is out, Stephen Gilmore. So Brady should be able to shred.
New
that
head coach,
secondary.
new offensive coach, new
A
special
lot of moving
teams
parts.
coach.
Lost their best one of their best
Coach.
linemen.
In the days of where everything's equal, 9.5 points is still a lot.
Yep, and again, it goes against our usual things, which would be always take a home dog with more than 3 points. Divisional games, anything within 6, take the points. I mean, all those, we're stepping in the face of that,
Yeah.
and we're still liking the Pats.
Oh yeah.
And again, we both woke up and wore Tom Brady shirts today.
Well, more can be said.
Or as I said, mine's Gerard Mayo. When I looked in the mirror, I said 51, Gerard Mayo. So I didn't even realize I was wearing Brady.
Oh, you were,
The other
you were,
captain.
My
you were-
dyslecticness.
You were on your head. Okay.
All right, the second game in the Fab Four. Let's go on the West Coast. Let's go Green Bay going out to San Fran. And what a great game that's going to be, guys. San Fran, being the home favorite, is giving 4.5 points. So, Rich, let's start with you. What do you think of that game, San Fran at home?
I'll go GB, Green Bay. I think San Fran wins, but I think they win by a field goal. I think it's 23-20. I'm going to go with.
Oh, you're throwing numbers out there. Fantastic. David?
And the game's in San Francisco.
In San Fran, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I have to go with San Fran. I would have actually taken the Pack if it was.
Green Bay's got a lot of question marks on their offensive line, and there's no question that San Fran has one of the best defensive fronts in football. So.
Boy, you saw that even in the preseason, didn't you? Man, they're good.
No, they're the real deal.
So you like San Fran? You like San Fran by 5, obviously.
Yep.
So give it a 4.5. Okay. I think they win, but I don't think they win by more than that. So I'm going to go with Rich on this one, and let's say Green Bay getting the points, getting 4.5 out there in San Fran. The next game, another classic divisional rivalry. New York Giants visit the Dallas Cowboys, and Dallas giving 3 points to the Giants.
This one goes against everything I wanted to say. New York has never lost in Jerry World, the new stadium. They're 5-0 down there. But I'm going to go with Dallas. I think they get it right. I picked Dallas to win the NFC East this year.
All right, Dallas. I'm going to say the Cowboys surprise everybody and cover the spread. Dave, how about you?
As much as I dislike the Cowboys, and I think that Tony Romo's a fraud, I always find it tough picking against home teams.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Dallas.
All right, so we got another consensus pick, and then the last one, real quickly, Philly at Washington. Washington given 3.5. RG3 will be playing, as far as everyone knows at this point.
I'm going to go with Philly. I think their offense is going to be phenomenal this year with New Hampshire's own Chip Kelly. I think they're going to be phenomenal. And real quickly, plug in. Didn't have time to get to the fantasy stuff. If you want your start, sit-ems of the week, your weekly rankings, go to patsfaninsider.com, and I'll provide all that for you.
Also, your weekly show. Why don't you talk about real quick before?
Well, can the other two of us get our picks in before
No,
they
we're going to wait because there's a method to my madness. So.
Saturday morning, 11 to 12. Make sure you tune in to ESPN New Hampshire, 900 1250 AM, ESPN Radio on your smartphone apps. And me and Coach and even Dave will chime in. We'll recap and preview all the Patriots stuff that was.
Fantastic. My game pick, by the way, is RG3 at home. Big time win over Philly, although I agree with Philly. So I get Washington winning. David, you?
I get the same thing, Washington, but I also want to take a second. So it's a big week for you guys. Last week, you hit 1 million hits on PatsFanInsider.com, and I'll tell you, for something you guys just started up a couple of years ago, that is really getting some momentum. So I take my hat off to both of you. Everyone thinks it's easy to start. It's not. You bring people together, but I guess if you know what you're talking about, people will listen. So let's hope.
In spite of that, they still come sometimes to the pretty pitches.
There you go. All right, we'll see you all next week, and we can all talk about how smart we are. Or not.
Merrimack rocks.
Thank you.